What's the date today?
The 8th.
Okay.
Monday, January 8th, 2024. First time that we say 2024 on the podcast.
Wow. I'm getting old.
No. Well, 30, no? 30?
Yeah, 30 in 2 months. In 2 months.
Dang.
And I'm working my way there. But that's what I'm saying. I saw this funny meme, like all 1994 children, get ready for it.
You're
me.
94?
Yeah, born in 94. So,
Wow.
actually, I feel a lot more comfortable with it than I did a few months ago. So, that's a good step, at least.
Well, I mean, you kind of have to be. No, it's coming close.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I know. That's part of life. So, I'm getting used to it. I do agree. All right. It's been a while, man. It feels different. We haven't done it in a while.
Feels chilly, dude. That's what it feels like. It's these winter months. You know what I'm hating about? You know what really sucks about the high school season?
What's that?
That once the sun goes down, man, is it cold, dude. Especially in these, like, evening games where they turn on the lights for us. Oh, my gosh. You gotta have, like, multiple layers. Gotta have a beanie just in case. Maybe some gloves if you're sophisticated like that. I'm not.
The players on the field are warm as could be. You see the steam coming off their bodies, and you're just like huddling in. I had to talk to my AD about getting the coaches like parkas because it's cold as can be. Like,
dude,
just as you said.
I need to do that too.
Yeah, don't go out.
We shellacked, dude. Sorry, Chief.
Whoa,
dude. Dude. We got, like, some crappy-ass gear this season.
No, he is really going
No, listen, bro. We got shorts with no logo on them. They just got, like, the Adidas logo. But none of, like, our own logo. Like, something I could have bought at the outlets, to be honest.
Well, no, that's how it all starts.
No.
Yeah, you get the Adidas clothes, and someone at your school takes them and gets the logo put on.
No, that's not how we do it.
That is how everyone does it.
Not
Adidas isn't sending you Saints fan. They're not doing the Saints logo for you.
We got a guy.
You got a guy at the school.
No.
Puts
it's
that
not at the
on.
school. Not at the school.
No, I'm saying they're not branding the pants at the school. I'm saying there's somebody connected to the school that the school pays to brand Saints onto the Adidas gear. Adidas is not branding Saints.
Are you sure?
A positive.
You sure we don't have?
I'm 100.
We don't have a connect.
I'm 100.
Dude, we're the top school in San Diego. How can you say we don't have someone at Adidas?
Supplies
Dude, varsity, bro. Varsity, not even the JV. The varsity, man.
No.
On that note.
Welcome to Pitchside Prospects. This is episode 15, and we are back. Zeke is back, and
Zeke's
we are
excited for 15.
happy to be back. And I say we are back because what's the date today?
It's January 8th.
Mm-mm.
And the last time we had a podcast was like in December.
December 18th or something like that. We definitely
It was the 18th, huh?
Yeah, I want to say first. We hope you had a happy holidays. We hope you had a good time with your family, your loved ones, your kids, whatever it is. We missed the last 2 podcasts in a sense because the first one 2 weeks ago fell on Christmas Day, which was like, hey man, like I'm up in LA with my mom, you're down here in San Diego with your family. Hey,
damn,
dude,
see? You
chill.
playing, man?
Chill, bro.
We playing around, dog.
Toy. Hey, that's enough. Sit down. Thank you.
He really wants to be part of this podcast
right?
today,
He's excited. He heard like my louder voice, and now all of a sudden he's popping. And then we got through that week. We said, all right, it'll be all right. We'll get next week in, right? And then.
Well, and I also had a little trip too, so like we couldn't like re-film on that day.
Yeah.
So like I wasn't in town.
The whole week was Phil for you that
week.
And then we got into the next week.
Well, I got back from my trip with my tooth absolutely killing me, and like what I learned recently is that there's no like real pain, unlike tooth pain.
Yeah, we were talking.
Tooth pain is absolutely sucks.
It's one of those things we also said you take for granted, right? It's like when you have tooth pain, when you have throat pain, when you have all kinds of like these things that just they're not normally there and now they are. Boy, does that like throw a hinder in everything. And like you were down and out for a good week following Christmas, which led into New Year's, and so that's kind of how we ended up missing those last 2 weeks. But I felt like no harm, no foul, because it's the holiday season. Everybody's got things going on, and it's a good time to maybe take a break. I think that's what the rest of the world thinks too.
Now Z's going in on you, man.
Yeah,
now,
he's just like...
Z really wants to be part of the episode.
He's really just like biting me, but like not. He's like, come over here. But I fear that the only way to end this energy is just to give it back. So that's part of having a husky. You just gotta live with it sometimes, And
yeah.
If I do this, he won't bark, which is probably a better outcome for the podcast. So.
maybe Z has something to say, Maybe he agrees with one of our things and he barks,
I feel like he's like trying to tell me come here, but I'm not gonna go there, so we're gonna have to sort it out. It is what it is.
It's all right.
But
the same way that is all right that we missed 2 podcasts, we're gonna try and make them up because we have at least I wanted to try and do 52 podcasts in 52 weeks.
Yeah, that was our goal, but we're still like, hey, if we can do a whole year, like 52, 54 in a span of like a year and 2 weeks, I don't think it's a bad thing. And then I also slowly, as we get more into it, like it's become, like I've said before, more of a norm. And the idea of pushing past 52 and just keeping it going when we have new guests and new people that we want to bring on has started to become a reality in my mind. So then it's like, okay, well, I'm less about this whole like, okay, all year it's gotta be, but more so each week wake up and be like, hey, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And then staying on it. That whole concept of just staying on it, and it'll get better and more will be done, and in time you'll see something quite amazing. And I have a massive wolf literally just pulling on my arm. It's like his teeth are like
a little awkward.
I'm glad I have 2 jackets on because of the cold.
Oh, even better, no?
Extra skin here. So, the 2-week break is over. We're back. We're happy to be back.
Someone that didn't take a 2-week break was the Premier League. While we were away and we were doing our own things, suffering from our own things, the Premier League was still going. Running riot. Z loves that the Prem was going on, even though he saw Arsenal only score 2 goals in the last 4 games,
We've taken over 60 shots in the last 4 games, but we've only scored 2 goals, and it's been a very cold time of the year for us. Straight up, it's just been cold. Like, we played good games. I'm gonna say that, but we haven't been able to finish, and now people are starting to define us as that. We're going in the transfer window where people are screaming, we need a striker. You got the regular Arsenal fans turning on the team mid-season like they always do. Like it's like now you see people coming out and saying, we need this or that. And listen, I'm just different. I'm like...
You're built different?
I'm built different. I've been an Arsenal fan in this state of just mediocrity plus striving to get back to where we were for like 18 years now. I'm not shaken or stirred, like I told you before.
Neither of those.
Yeah, no,
what?
No.
What?
It's just like, listen, hey, we're in 4th. We're in a good place. We're in Champions League. Now that we're back there, we should be happy that we're there. We're competing for the first league in the title for the last 2 years for the first time in God knows how long. We should be happy that we're there. We should be happy that we're there. And if it does happen, it'll be like reaching the moon. And if it doesn't happen, it'll be like, that's my team. It's just calm. Like, I'm calm about it. I never got overhyped when we were at the top, and I won't be, like, completely let down now that we're in, 4th, 3rd?
Not in 1st.
We're in 4th. But
you know what Ricky Bobby said?
It's a matter of...
You know what Ricky Bobby said?
What did he say? If you're not 1st, you're last.
Yes, sir. You know who's in 1st? Liverpool.
I'm just saying. We made a bet. Come March 31st, which is my 30th birthday.
Oh, really? It's on that day?
That is.
That's gonna be unfortunate. Imagine on that day you gotta take me out to dinner.
It's cool. Because my boys, that's gonna be
Alright,
my
you wanna fill in the podcast of what our bet is?
Okay, our bet is that by March 31st or sometime in March, Arsenal will be ahead of
No.
Liverpool.
We said by March 31st.
Arsenal will be ahead of Liverpool in the league standings. Because this guy wouldn't let it go. Like, we're done. We have no chance in the league. And Liverpool's won it.
And
I'm
in
like,
the Champions League, I have no chance.
it's January. Like, there's still 4 or 5 months left here. And you're getting all revved up. And I'm like, nah, you're doing this way too soon. Watch, spring's going to come. And Arsenal's going to hit a run. Liverpool's going to suffer without Mo Salah for the next month. And you're going to have those dark times when we're flying. And then City's going to fly in from behind both of us and win it at the end.
Yeah. Like, realistically, that's probably what's going to happen. But it's not going to be Arsenal about Liverpool. That's all I know. That's all I know. We're back. We beat you without Szoboszlai, without Salah, without Van Dijk. We had like a 19-year-old playing over Van Dijk yesterday. And we still beat you guys. Clean sheet.
The first 60 minutes of the FA Cup, which were before any of the goals were scored. And it was an open match.
Oh, no, yeah.
Oh, man, did we have our
Odegaard
chances?
hit the post.
Yeah. Oh,
someone else hit the post.
Trent hit the post.
Yeah.
The game was just like bang, bang. But, yeah, it was another disappointing run for us because we're in situations in which we should score and we're not. So, yeah, what can you say? That winter period that's really after us right now.
Got a hot take. Let's see what you got to think about it. Will Trent become the best right back of all time? Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I feel like if he stays at Liverpool his whole career, no.
Really?
Yeah.
Liverpool's not a big enough club to reach.
I think it is.
GOAT standards.
I think for GOAT standards, people always have that question of, well, can you do it in other places? And that's one of the things that...
I mean, I think the GOAT right back, like we talked about, was Dani Alves, no?
I think
And Dani Alves had his best times at Barca, and then when he went to other places, he didn't really have...
He still won trophies where he went.
No, but that's because you go to Juventus, PSG, like you're supposed to win trophies. Like,
I guess
there's no other team that should win a trophy if you go there.
Yeah, I guess my thought here is that, like, if Trent went to, like, Real Madrid and he started playing regularly there and he was winning, he won a couple more Champions Leagues, then we can have a talk about that. If he stays at Liverpool his whole career and they win a couple more Champions Leagues, yeah, okay, we can have a talk about that. But,
I'm just talking about player.
If he has
ability.
If he has multiple seasons in his future, like he did 2 seasons ago, where he was like top assister and getting like
right
up
now.
on goals.
How about right now? Now, I feel like he's at the peak of his game because he's not being exploited, like all of the critics talk about on the wide space by the winger.
No, he was being criticized at the beginning of the season this year. I don't think that he's having an exceptional season.
Whoa.
And it's just a regular for Trent. It's not exceptional in my mind. I think that also Trent has had better seasons that he's had in the last 2. So you want to talk about GOAT, all-time right backs? I feel like Trent has a long way to go for that. He's got a lot more to earn in his career before we start putting him with Marcelo.
Marcelo's a left back, but
I do that every time. Yeah, but like,
well, it's because that if you're gonna base it off of
Dani
trophies,
Alves, Marcelo.
If you're gonna base it off of trophies, you can't go like the dominance that and the teams that Dani Alves played for. Like, you're supposed to win trophies. That's why he has like 40 or something.
That's what I'm saying. In order to become that guy, that he's got to do that with Liverpool. And that's why I'll go back to say, unless he picks up and goes to a place where he can do that, I don't think he'll ever be in the conversation of best right back of all time.
I'm talking about ability, though.
Playing now?
I'm talking about ability, though.
I get that. But how are you going to rate that? How are you going to judge that? How are you going to gauge that?
But you can say expected assists, like the passes that he makes, that are.
You're a Liverpool fan. I can't even have this conversation with you properly without bias. So
So
it's like,
I get this question from actually an Arsenal fan of mine, because he's a mega fan of Trent, and he's like, if I could pick one person to join Arsenal from the Liverpool team, it'd be Trent.
but you're gonna sit there and tell me you don't have bias towards Trent,
I'm not saying I don't, or,
right?
or
But
I
that's what I'm saying. You definitely do, because you're a Red, and you love the guy and you love how he plays. So my objective standpoint would be statistically, yeah, he's got to prove that with trophies. Like, if he wants to be goated at that position. And, like, who can you think of other right backs in history that you would put there?
Cafu.
Mm-hmm. That was one of my first
What's
thoughts.
the
The
name?
Brazilian. Yeah, okay.
Lam.
Good one, too. And now put those
Those
three
three.
dudes next to him.
Trent, I think Trent is a better player, gives you more on your team than those three guys, because the way that he opens up the game for a coach, it's where can he not put the ball? If he's playing in the middle of the field, he'll put it in the left corner, in the right corner. He'll put it in the middle channel so that someone can run onto it and chest it down and finish. Like,
But off the ball, he isn't the most locked down fullback.
was Danny Alves?
No.
And he's considered one of the GOATs.
Right.
And so, like, how does that work?
Trophies.
Nah.
I'm just
Just
explaining.
because- Just because
I'm just
Danny
saying.
Alves was on a
I'm just
team
saying.
that won a lot, does that make Danny Alves the best right back? I don't believe so.
I believe that it has a part of the conversation. That he did things in those games and leagues and titles that led to that team getting those trophies. So although it's a team accomplishment, he has some sort of individual like appreciation there for being a part of those teams. And then also, okay, with Trent, yeah, quick, he could put the ball wherever you want it, except he hit the crossbar yesterday. But off the ball, we see wingers getting past him quite often.
Mhm.
Now, in a few years, if he can lock down attackers, both off and on the ball, and they win a few trophies, you're right, I wouldn't have somebody to say, hey, he's better than him. He's better than Trent.
So you would say that Danny Alves, as a player, is better than Trent?
I would take him 10 times over 10 every day.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but it's just a style of thing. Like, do I need Trent really just grabbing the ball and
Why
driving
not?
down like?
How does that hurt?
It doesn't hurt if that's your way. But you know me, and you know what I like, and I would much rather watch Danny in front of me as I'm coaching than Trent in front of me as I'm coaching. I would have more fun with Danny. I would watch him
Just because
play.
he's Brazilian?
No, I would just because of the way
Just
that
because
he
he's
plays.
funny?
Because of the way that he plays. He plays with that Barcelona style. We like to play. We like to have the ball. We like to find solutions. He's built like that.
Yeah, but
And well, I'm built like
who,
that.
but at this point, what player cannot like do that?
I get that, and Trent can do that, but not to the extent that Danny can.
So you're telling
But
me
Danny
if Trent,
can't hit the
you're
long
telling
ball
me
the
that
way
if
Trent
Trent goes into that Barcelona side, that he can't interplay with Messi and all that stuff? No
At the
man,
caliber that Danny
No
did.
man is that.
Yes, at the caliber that Danny did.
Dude,
that
Danny
is what I'm saying.
played 5-10 yard passes, man.
That's what
Trent
I'm
does
saying.
that
At the,
in his
Trent
sleep,
couldn't
bro.
do it at the caliber Danny did at that
No
level.
man,
That is what I'm
man,
saying.
You're brave.
But there's your bias. Show it.
Now that we're talking about like these different players and the things that they do, why don't we talk about us as coaches and how we influence game situations by the information that we give our players, like Danny Alves, like Trent, like whoever you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much our job when it comes to the game, is to give information without demanding or commanding, right? Like, at least from my perspective, there will be times when you will need to demand or command. But even when you're doing that, you're giving information. So all of it kind of zones into that sense of what kind of information are you giving? How is it helping the player understand what he or she needs to do? And how much maybe is too much information? And like,
Is there such a thing as too much information?
that's one of those
in your perspective.
It's a good find the detail of the question is I believe that right now there is such thing as over information because I have been coaching in the last few years in situations where I have just lit up every single situation, circumstance, thought, mentality that I perceived during the game, and at halftime expressed all of those things, hoping that players would grab one or the other. And in my prior experiences recently, a lot of things, when you shoot a bunch of things, a lot of things are missed, and maybe one thing is picked up and held.
And you mean especially like at one time?
Yeah, because the way I'm speaking like now, I'm given tons of different informations about the game that's at hand and then how we are going to adjust. And each player is asking, like we talked about before, what do they need to do better to handle this? And I'm giving those informations as well. And it realistically becomes like if you start to give too much information on the necessities of what needs to be done, the entire game plan of what the players have felt while they were playing in the first half gets rewired, and it's almost like starting over again in the second half.
So you're talking specifically in the halftime?
Yeah, and then before the game, I think that the more information, the better. Like,
so I'd like to I believe that once you get to the game day, you can't give more information because the information that's given on the game day is too late. The information, if you're going to be giving information, it has to be done in the practice week and then also reinforced in the practice week so that they could actually, I feel like they could actually understand it and digest it. Once you give it to them in the game day, it could be like let me take that back. I believe you can give information and it can be helpful because there's no absolutes in the game. But what happens when you give too much information on the game day is whatever you train during the week is like almost at the back burner. It's forgot. So then why did you even train during the week if you're not backing up your points?
Now that's a great point, because in the sense that when you are giving over information, one of the concerns with over information is conflicting ideas. So if you start to give too much information and some of those different points cross each other on what is needed, then players start to really get confused or misunderstand. And then the other worry about too much information is if you make a mistake and you're asking for an adjustment and it's unnecessary, you could be wrong. It could be something that hurts you as well. And I want to touch on what you've just mentioned as far as the timing of the information and when it's given. Any information given at practice or leading up to the match, where it's like a scouting report on the opponents, or it's the formation how we should play, or the way that you should think about solving the situations in front of you, I don't believe during the training week there is a sense of over information.
No, during the training week, that's when you're supposed to
give it all.
Yeah,
give it all, because it's like when the players are coming to class and you're the teacher and you're giving everything you want them to know about how the team runs, and when you go to the show on the weekend
and you give them a test
and all the fans are coming to watch and people are like there to show, like you're there to show you've learned what you are to do as a team.
Well, and look at it like you brought up the teacher. If the teacher says something in class, isn't that fair game in the test?
100%.
So then you could be like, reference that back, like, hey, I said that in the practice.
And it's a little different too when it comes to age. So like, my expectation of the players to retain the information is relative to the age in which they are. That is to say that if I did give those answers during the training week to the older player, I can ask and respond to him during the game that weekend. Hey, I talked about that this week. That was a mistake. We said we need to go. But if it was my munchkin and it's an 8-year-old and we talked about in the week, I would maybe address that player and say, hey,
in a positive reinforcement
you remember
way.
when we talked about we open up to the wide areas? There's that moment. It showed itself. Next time you feel that or see that, maybe open and try to look here and see how that changes. But when it comes down to it, all the information is given there at the practice field for the olders. We get to the game, and now I hope to say, and I always say this to my teams, like, that I can sit, watch, and analyze. But realistically, how often does that happen?
No, never.
Never.
And you know, it's funny. Even Jesse Marsh, ex-professional coach, said that. my job, if I did my job correctly, I'm just sitting and watching.
Yeah.
And he was saying that in Germany, he got very discriminated to that because imagine the German press, how they are. They're like, oh, so like, if you're just there watching, then why
What are you doing?
Yeah, why are you even a job? Why are they paying you millions of dollars just to watch? And it's funny because the Germans, as he was saying, the Germans believe that the coach is the chess master, and that whatever good happens on the field is because of you, and whatever bad happens on the field is because of you.
You're the one moving the pieces in chess, huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So then the German press absolutely flamed him after one Leipzig press conference that he had where he said, I don't want to be watching the game. I want the boys to get to a point where they do things on their own.
Yeah.
And
he wants to be watching the game.
And the German press started putting things in the newspaper. Why do they pay you millions?
Right.
If you're going to be doing that.
But at the end of the day, when you're working with professionals, I think there might be a little bit of a difference there. But when we're working with kids, we'd hope that the more information that we gave them through the week, they retain that information. They're able to show it on the weekend. Because that's truly the whole development job that we're there doing and that what we're after. All the winning and the processes that come after that are just gravy. But realistically, we're there to show these players what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And then that takes information. It takes a lot of information, not just verbal, but also demonstrative and circumstances, situations where they can practice it and repetitions. And so it becomes one of these things that, like, working with youth players, have found I'd rather give more information, over information, and shoot 20 stars into the group and see how many each player grabbed. This player grabbed 2 of the 10. That player grabbed 7 of the 10. That player grabbed 5 of the 10. If each star was an idea or thought that helped them move into the game and perform better, I'd hope that if I just shot 10 out, that all 20 players grabbed as much as they could.
Wow, I like that how you brought it up like that, because think about the principles that we try to implement as coaches, and we all have our own principles based off of our own backgrounds and whatnot. What if you broke your game model down so simple to where it's just, let's say you've got 3 principles, and in those 3 principles there's 5 sub-principles in each of them, and like you just talked about, what if they were stars? What if they were little achievements that they could get? And so little Bobby got 5 stars this week, and you actually have you know how in classrooms for little kids they got a little star system?
My mom and dad did that growing up as kids too at home.
So imagine
those smiley faces.
Imagine how cool that would be to break down your game and be like, oh, little Jimmy got 5 stars, and these are the stars that he's got and the stars that he hasn't gotten yet. I feel like that'd be a good way to actually
make development tangible.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's it almost gives me a scout kind of feeling. Like you're going to the Boy Scouts, whatever, and each time you learn to do something that is helping your survival rate, you get a badge. It's a badge that you know how to do this. Mm-hmm. Well, in soccer, if that was, and I think it would work more 7, 8, 9, maybe even 6, 7, 8. That age group, where they make it tangible. Okay, this player is now able to do not just toe touches, but his feet touches, and not only his feet touches, but his rollovers. And now we give him basic tutorial star 1. He's got that. Boom.
Yeah. See, and that's
working on
such a developmental.
He's stoked that he's got it.
Yeah.
He believes he can do it. He has proof from the start that coaches believe he can do it. It looks right, and now he has able to move on to his next concept. And if we can really dig deep and dive into creating something like that, as a coach, you would be taking a step forward in development than the people around you. 100%.
Dude.
It's a great idea.
Low key. Be on the lookout for that soon. We gotta figure out a name for it.
And I'm working with that younger age group going on this year. I'll have 4 teams.
And
very
me
young,
too.
young.
That'd be such a cool way to implement the basics of what an 11v11 game actually looks like for the youngers, you know?
Now, I find giving over information to youngers is a very interesting situation, circumstance, moment, because when I give a bunch of information to younger kids, 7, 8, 9, it's really actually astounding what they grab and then ask questions about. It's not just astounding, it's surprising. It's interesting. It's one of these things where, like, I give a lot of information and one kid will go, oh, so if I grab that ball, I can go out wide and then look, yeah. Oh, but that also means if he grabs that ball, then I don't have to go there. I can open up and be here. Yeah, yeah. And then all these different concepts start popping out of this over information.
I'm really thinking about this development thing, like
with
how
the stars and how to make
how would you incentivize? How could you reward those younger boys?
I got it. Check it out. For the younger boys, there's only 4 actions in football because they took the 5th one away. It's passing, it's receiving, it's dribbling, it's shooting. In those 4 actions, it defines the entire game for youth soccer, unless the goalkeeper comes into play, and there's a whole nother different set of actions for the goalkeeper. This 4 actions would get 5 stars. You'd have a star 1 for basic tutorial, a star 2 for intermediate, a star 3 for medial, a star 4 for advanced, and a star 5 for expert. And in each of those actions, you can slowly work through each one to get a star that gives you each proof that you've accomplished it. But each star now, what we're talking about, would have its own thing. So a basic star 1 in dribbling would mean that you'd have to be able to complete number of 5 actions that are very basic.
Mm-hmm.
And then star 2 would be that you would have to show one-on-one ability to put those skills into gameplay. And then a star 3 would be to build that skill of dribbling into gameplay and create space for yourself, therefore creating advantage, successfully completing the act more regularly. 4 would be the ability to use the skill more often in very, how do you say when you watch a player use a skill? Naturally. You know what I mean when you watch a player at a young age do a skill, and you could see if they're working on it or if they got it.
Yeah.
And that would be like 4.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 could be now he can do it whenever he wants, in game, out of game, and it's one of those things that he just loves to do, and you see it often. And most people don't even need to get to 5, because realistically 4 is your game-like scenario usage functionality of it. 5 is like, I love to do that skill. That's like when you see me, I throw the ball up and I roll it off both my shoulders like 360 and I pop it up. I could do it with a 0 thought, and I just do it because I love it, and I do it all the time. That's a 5-star skill. Now, for me,
I guess the incentive question
and I'm
is
just
more of like
in that.
No, this is all we're doing. The incentive question goes more to like, what reward do they get besides like actually knowing the skill? Like, what reward do they get to like have that, like something that they could hold in their hand, something they could, I don't know, eat. I don't want to give them like a candy, but I want like
you
something.
You want to give them like a physical reward for getting stars?
Yeah.
I would do something soccer oriented, whether it be the keychains or like a grip sock pair, or like it could be a
mini ball,
shorts of Barcelona, or a that they like, a size 1 ball. It could be one of those ropes you hold and you kick and it comes back to you. Any of those little things.
But that's okay. Soccer related thing. Yeah, that'd be good. Okay.
Right? And then it adds to the development of the individual for youth, and then therefore there's a tangible growth development. Now, I'm usually like, I'm starting to turn my brain to understanding why tangible growth is really important. But talking specifically about in that star, what is needed in order to get that star is more of where the worth of this conversation is where the depth, the detail exists.
Yeah, and that's, I feel like, where like, if we were to implement this, we need to like go into the
depth and detail.
Yeah.
Because that would then dictate, well, how are we training these kids? Why are we training them that way? What are we trying to get out of it? For them, for their sake, in the development, right? But like, again, we go back to that over-information concept or under-information. It is relative to age. And even if I overstimulate the players at 18, Some of them will grab some will grab all, some will grab none. And if I do it with the youngers, it's the same. Some will grab some will grab all, some will grab none. And realistically, the one thing the youngers do really well without even realizing it is concising all your information into a point. Because their brains are more simplified. So they take that overstimuli and they try to make sense of it. And when they try to make sense of it, they simplify it.
And that's when their learning happens, because they're trying to grasp it, like you said.
Dude, bigger than that. That's when my learning also happens. That's when the kids teach me. It's the greatest moment, because what they're doing for me is simplifying the concept into a principle. And the over and over again that I hear these responses from kids that are simplified but for their brains to understand, they're teaching me the principle in which teaches them. Because they show me how they come to their understanding, and the way that all these different young kids come to their understanding and the questions that arise from it actually teaches me how to take that concept and pinpoint it for the younger brain. And that's the wholesome teaching part of it, where they teach you too.
I think my final thought about over information, and this is a good funny thing that Jesse was talking about, where he goes like, I don't do like 1 hour or 45-minute long video sessions anymore. Why? Because when you're in a place for so long, especially as men, you get bored. You get bored so quick, and then
with my hand,
fidgety. And he was even saying that like people in the conference were starting to snooze off because it's just like
it's too much.
Yeah, it's so much stuff going on, and you're just like, like let's get it over with. So you know what he started implementing? Smaller 10-15-minute video sessions, but they were daily. Instead of doing 1 hour a week, it'd be 10-15 minutes a day, and you still got to that hour, but it was like, all right, boys, let's focus for 10-15 minutes.
Better like that.
Let's get in and let's get out.
Better like that.
100%.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing it all, like we were talking about over information, we're talking about young men that are fidgety, that are thinking about their girl, they're thinking about the party, they're thinking about whatever.
Whatever is really it. Like at the Residency Academy, we had a rule for our video sessions. They had to be under 15 minutes. And even 15 was long. They wanted it to be under 10 if possible. Mm-hmm. And it was all for the retention of information in their eyes. And the best timing for the video session was 4 o'clock, we'd do video session, 10-15 minutes. Then they'd hit the gym and do activation in the weight room with the weight coach. Then they go out to the field and do field activation, and by 5 we were training on the concept we watched from 4 to 4:15. So it was like 15 minutes, got it, this is what we're working on. Go get the body warmed up, gym, okay, hit the field, get the body warmed up, move in ball. 5 o'clock, boom. There's the same concept on the ground, on the field, that we just saw on the screen. And we're going to run reps of this and try to improve in that concept. Talk about an overall context that is just brilliant to the development of the brain of the player.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they did that. And I think Jesse's onto something when he says, okay, I'm going to reduce it in time. Because the retention of information is better in short bursts.
Oh, yeah.
100%. I just really concise that well. Sorry, I forgot.
That's for the shorts. That's for the shorts, baby.
No, I'm sorry. Sometimes I celebrate it when I'm like, damn, I did that.
No, of course, because we can sometimes ramble on this podcast, and 100%. we can like think about one small concept and we turn it into a 10-minute thing, you know? Excellent. So it's good that we could also bring it in. And I think that ties into terminology in the game and like different words that people use. I wanted to actually look up the word terminology and what it meant, and instead of that I actually found the origin of terminology. Terminology originated obviously from the old languages like Latin and French and German. The Latin meaning terminus, which is a term, and ologia, which is the study of. So it's the study of
a period of
terms. Terms.
Terms.
The study of terms, which means the study of a word.
Ah, I see.
And that's what terminology is. It's like the breaking down of what the word actually describes.
Yeah, and I guess like I was growing up, and this could be right or wrong, but the connotation of a word is a lot like what we think about when we give terminology. It's like the connotation of defend is to defend and get ready, and the connotation of recover is to go and get.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we get more in depth of the meaning of the words, it gives more information about the details of what you should or shouldn't do. And that's, again, like a combination of both terminology and information.
Yep.
And it's like, you'll see all across the world in all different programs. And you got a bunch of good terms from Jesse Marsh when you went to the convention. I think you should read some of them off of what you thought, and we can maybe spend some time getting into those, because I'm sure the viewers would like to hear some.
Yeah.
Maybe not all. I can't give all the gold away.
Yeah.
But
Well, you know what's funny? Jesse was like, I don't care if anyone knows my secrents.
No,
like,
there's gold. You're just talking about the gold.
No. That's Jesse. Me, totally different level. They're totally different. I don't want people knowing my sauce.
Yeah.
I got some sauce in here.
In this computer, I got gold. You're just gonna get it.
No, even you didn't want to give me the gold. You bastard.
You gotta earn it.
Zeke is like, I love terminology right now. No, it's funny because he was saying like, and I totally believe this, where he was saying I want to get to the point where even if the opposition knows my tactics, I want our execution of the tactics to be so good that it don't matter that you know.
Can't stop.
You can't stop it.
Yeah, that's how Barca feels.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we feel. We say, hey, this is how we play.
And you still keep that gold.
Come get us.
Okay. You don't give the details away. You don't give the details.
I'm not gatekeeping here. Anything you want from my gold, you can have now, man. You've earned it. You've earned it. I do have the French Football Federation. The entire course, like 400 pages. Barcelona methodology of like 4 or 5 years. And then all the information that came from the studies from the coaches together while we were there. Because we shared each other's gold, and when we...
Well, yeah, because you're on the same team together.
Yeah,
so.
we compiled a wonderful amount of information, but that is just that. It's like Jesse Marsh's terms and how to get detail to his teams and better insight on how they should act or react in situations. It comes from those terminologies that he was willing to share with the entire convention, which hats off to him, dude. That's dope. Like you just said, there's not a lot of people in this world that are willing to just hand away their secrets and how they work.
No.
Especially those who made it to the top.
Exactly, especially if you've been there. Like, why are you gonna give it to some guys that are doing U11 soccer?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, it takes something special, someone special.
And it was cool to know that he had to actually learn German when he went over to Austria and to Germany, and that in and of itself is another massive challenge that you not only as a person but as an adult that already has their own, you could say, like, rhythm of how they do things. Now you have to change that rhythm in your brain and learn a whole nother language.
Like starting fresh.
Exactly. And it was cool to... What I've been doing recently is I've been trying, since I'm not a professional footballer, I need to take what I can from all of the resources that are out there on the internet, and there's absolutely thousands and thousands of hours and interviews and whatnot where you can learn from. And I've been trying to do that to figure out and learn different cultures and learn from these different cultures that frankly have been doing it better than the US.
Yeah.
Because I'm reading that book, Complex Football, and it talks about it doesn't make any sense that the United States with 300 million people cannot get a good team of... You only need 23 guys. 23 people to compete in a World Cup. Whereas a country like Uruguay or like Croatia that has 1% or less than 1% of the United States GDP, and they can actually get a squad of 23 people to compete at the highest level.
No, it
doesn't
makes sense. It makes sense
No,
when
I
you
mean,
finish the book.
okay, all right, sure, but
When it makes sense when you finish the book.
percentage-wise.
Because I've read the book many times, like 3 or 4 times, and I'm glad you got the 4th revision one because I have the 2nd and the 3rd. And obviously this book was treated like gold at the residency because Paco Soruro. but like here's the thing. America is a melting pot, a hosh-posh. It is a massive country with all kinds of different cultures of people and many different sports even that take precedent over football in the last 100 years. And football only being relatively, 90 years old, 75 years old in America from the organized, competitive, professional league. It's not just a matter of like in that book, how Soruro says, it's not just the complex people. It doesn't make sense that the quantity of people doesn't lead to a connection of the such. It's that they haven't been doing it the right way in the right settings with the right information for enough time to be able to create what it is to the complex team. Because that book describes very detailed wise what is a team. Well, it's a group of complex individuals, and each one of those individuals are their own universe. And then you put all of those own universes, 20 plus, 30 plus together, and that entity becomes a very complex entity. Then you take that 30 plus person complex entity that is learning its ways to come together and play together in a very efficient manner and put them against the same level of complex entity, which is an opponent of 30 individuals, which are all their own universe. Now you have 60 plus guys or women on the field in a complex match with its own set of rules, with their own complex teams, which are very hard to even understand unless you're the dude standing in the center of it, a player, a coach, an assistant, and then the own person in itself and how he fits within that. When you scope in, it's crazy complex. When you scope out, it's almost unfathomable, the complexity and the nature of what it is to play a football match, the beauty of the game, the beautiful game. And in Soruro's manner, he's explaining, by quantity, America should be a lot better. But by timeline, it makes sense that these complex individuals haven't worked on their social effective nature and their understanding of each other well enough within these game laws and rights to be as competitive as these tiny little countries that are all together, that are all Croatian, that have always grown up on football, that have only known this. Mm-hmm. So there's that sense of like, okay, no, I don't want to say no doubt, but like, of course, Croatia, who's always had this one thing and all the people attest as Croatian very strongly, and they're all together in what they do, and they focus on that one game, that they give us a better team. Mm-hmm. And over time, this is what we hope to change as youth football coaches in America in the international stage.
That opened up my eyes. I was like, that's what it really is. It's just 23 players from a massive population, and I want to try and tie that in with my youth players, like especially since they're 6 and 7. I just want to tell them, guys, there's only 23 in your from where you're from. 23 people. Why can't you be there? What makes them special that besides from you? There isn't much, man. They just know how to manipulate a ball better than you. Manipulate.
You talk about being special. Remember, I would say with our last group together, like, you guys don't truly understand what it is for us to be together this year. Like, the specialness of it is right there in complex football. Is how the complex beings all come together and form a complex unit to then go and compete against other complex units. Is its own complex organism as a whole. And that's so incredibly special because one person out and a new person in, and it's completely different. Mm-hmm. And so trying to wrap that concept around the players is more like easier when you bring up the concept of time. And I've done that with you and the boys at that last group before, but it's really reading that book that you're reading gives you a grander understanding of the human nature and the nature of relationships going on around you as you become the coach, the manager, the person that's standing almost central to the complex unit coming together.
I hate
But
to
we're
like
more
be
like
the
Buddhists, and we hold each other's shoulders, and we're all part of, and we're all equal.
I hate to be like arrogant, but it is like that. Like you're the one that is making that team play X or Y way.
Yeah.
And like
And how to talk,
I was
or
explaining
speak, how to
to one of my friends, like asking, oh, like how are you guys doing this season? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we're doing pretty good. And he was like, you must be doing a really good job. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy, but I told him it's the boys.
Right.
The boys are scoring the goals and not letting the goals go in.
You're not crossing the line.
But those ideas, the way that they score, the way that they defend. First piece of terminology, I'll give you guys a little secret. Instead of looking at it defending, because defending is a very reactive thing to do. Like Zach was saying, you could have a shield and you could protect yourself. Attack against the ball. How are you going to look at the very basic words that we use and turn them into something proactive? If you're the coach that's proactive and you preach about, we want to be the ones that control the game. You don't control a game if you're defending. You control a game if you're attacking against the ball. You want to win that ball back to then have the ball again, or you want to have the ball again to then go and score against the other opponent.
Yeah,
Depends what you believe.
There's a difference between pressuring and pressuring the ball. You go pressure, you close down space, you're there. You go pressure the top player, go pressure the ball. They're now go get this thing.
That's another. So next one. And since we're talking about terminology, I like to not only think about terminology in English, because since, like we were talking about, at least the United States has not been in the game so long, and there's these terms, there's these ideas that have been in the game for much longer with different cultures. So the word that pressuring the ball, oh my god, how many syllables is that? Pressuring the ball.
Pressure the ball.
5.
It's quite a lot.
5.
You gotta say a bit.
Ryan Gain. That's 2 syllables.
It's a different language though.
So
it takes another level of teaching
concept.
Prior.
Yeah, and so Reingain is a German word that means go in. And going in meaning, let's say if I'm defending against Zach and I'm pressuring here, this is just pressure, right?
Yeah.
I'm just standing here. There is no, he may feel me, he may get a little nervous, but there is no actual like threat of me taking the ball away. Whereas going in would be like getting in his face, using my body, using my hands to actually try and win the ball for my team.
Yeah, if a player was in the area and he hadn't put a foot in and we need him to, I would say just that. Put a foot in. You're just pressing.
But see, that's long.
Right, it's very long. Compared to what you're saying.
Ryan Gain, and even easy. My boys are coming.
They're stuck in.
Yeah, another one. My boys are going in for a ball, and I just go, Ryan Gain, easily can go. They understand. They know I'm going to go in, and if I don't go in, coach is going to get mad at me because I hesitated or I was being a baby.
And so you use it as a cue.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's so much nuances in football, not just in our English language, because there's so many different cultures that believe different things. And even here in, like, we'll break it down for the people that are here in San Diego. Even in San Diego, you see different styles of soccer. You go to South Bay and you see where it's a very heavily Latino community and you see a different style of play. You go up north where you have a more mixture of Caucasian people and a mixture of a bunch of other people, and you see different styles. Yeah. You see different styles of play, and even then, there's different wordage, different terminology for things, and it's beautiful to see that. And that's where I try and feed my teams with terminology that comes from people that know how to play the game.
And it's always really, really, really good, not debating, but like conversating over the different terminologies or terms that you use as a coach versus other coaches. Because then you'll find detail in the differences right? And you might just find something that you've been using that may be a little more rudimentary than the detail of the word that this coach has used for the same concept. And in that experience, transaction actually of coaches, you will become a better coach as you pick up that terminology that has greater detail and you start to share it with your players and they respond to those cues.
So, like, one of the terminologies that you use with the strikers whenever the other team had the ball in our half, a lot to break down.
Yeah, if you can understand.
If the striker is defending from backwards, or from, let's say, from high up the pitch, and he's coming down to, let's say, pressure a 6, his terminology would be a backwards defending. Hey, backwards defend, making sure that he's not only feeling pressure from in front of him, but the 6 is also feeling pressure from behind him. A term that Jesse Marsh liked to use was ball thief.
Right.
Very simple. Ball thief, ball thief, ball thief. And you already see the striker coming back and trying to, Ryan Gaines,
I would say
go
press
in.
from behind, press from behind, press from behind once you've been beat. And his is, what is it again?
Ball thief.
Ball thief. This is a better, I like this description of it because it's like a thief.
Mm-hmm.
People forget of you once you've been beat. And if you have the mentality and the will to keep going after the ball, because they forgot about you, you end up scooping in and just going, hey, thanks, and picking their pocket.
Yeah.
I like to say you picked his pocket, but a thief, that's what you're doing. They totally forgot about you. You're
sneaky.
There, you're coming in, and you're coming from behind, which arguably helps us increase the tempo to force them to play quicker towards us. So it makes them have to decide quicker too. But then they've also have this guy coming, and now we can change momentum back to forward. Or I don't even have to scoop it and pull it. I can push it back in the direction he's headed already to a teammate. Then I can change my action and start to drive forward again. And then in Jesse Marsh's game, I should, because I know the first pass is going to be forward. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting how you start to develop the team's understanding of certain actions, how they start to then click. You said before the podcast about his two-touch behavior in his backline. I like that. I thought that's something you should share with the group, because when the whole backline is in sync to making touches and they understand when the next one's going to pass, when the next one's going to receive, it gives them information on when to be ready and where to be in the next moment.
So I'll elaborate on that. The reason why Jesse Marsh encouraged his back line when building out of the back to only play two-touch is not only because of the tempo and because we want to keep the ball moving fast. It's because if you know that the play is going to be done in 2 touches, you know when the pass is going to come. Because let's say if there is no touch limit of how many touches you can or can't take, then the center back can take 3, 4, 5 touches, and you don't know when the pass is going to be made. But you know that if it's 2 touches, you're going to say, okay, he's gonna control the ball, and then he's going to pass it. So I need to be ready on the second touch to be able to receive the pass, instead of on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and now I'm ready, but I'm not receiving the ball. I'm asking when's the ball coming, you know?
It helps the team timing understanding.
Exactly.
Because now we're all like a well-oiled machine. He's received, I'm opening up. The next touch he's playing, I'm already opened up. I'm receiving. As I'm receiving, my next option is opening up. So by the time I'm putting my second foot on it and playing it, he's in position, and we end up moving like a cog of gears. And it sits well for us because we can expect what our teammate is going to do. The demand from the coach that gives us as a backline that expectation actually limits our options, but by limiting our options makes the choices more understood. Meaning that we're going to know where to be and when, because we've limited each other's options to this two-touch, which limits the places we can go with the ball, which then decides for you where do you need to be. It's a tool to help. It's interesting how that works, right? Because the more touches or more variables you give each player, the less we're going to know how to react, and we have to be more adaptive.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that we define how are we going to play and when are we going to play, where are we going to play, we start to have that game understood. Like I've said before, 60% of Pep's game is game planned. That's what we're talking about there. You know, the 60% of what he's asking for is already built into it. It starts to close down options of how the team can play. but actually what it's doing is highlighting the way that they should.
And the options that are the best options.
For this team.
Mm-hmm.
And they're different based on the style and the coach's objectives, and how he wants them to be. How they are, you know?
You know what's funny? And I'm thinking about other terminology and, like, I like that in other, at least I can't think of any, like, new English words that have been made because of a certain player playing a certain position. But one of the most recent new words that a player coined, or a player made people coin, was Thomas Muller. And it's funny because Alphonso Davies has this interview that says, well, Muller isn't fast, he isn't strong, he isn't, like, the best technically, but he just is like a machine. And how is he a machine? Because he knows how to interpret the space. And he knows how to interpret the space so good that in Germany, they gave him his own term, his own position. His own position in Germany is Raumdeuter. Raumdeuter meaning the space investigator or the space interpreter. Imagine being so good that they coined a term because of you.
Yeah, I think one of his greatest talents is also knowing how his teammates around him play in order to play that feeding role.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. It's amazing. He's able to understand how all of the people around him act and interact, and then therefore understand how he should in order to feed everybody around him. And he's one of those players. Mueller is just one of those guys. You put him in the team, he makes everybody around him look better, and he very rarely shines for himself. But the shining of him is that he puts everybody else in better positions.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has those games. He scores 5 goals, and everybody's like, "Whoa!" And it's like, no, that's what he does. He's the man. For them, for 20 years, or I want to say maybe a little less, he's been there a long time with Munich.
Like 10, 15
10,
almost.
15. He's been the man for them. He's like their Kroos. He ain't going nowhere. He holds it down. He creates. He defends. He does everything.
Mm-hmm.
He is their everything man. One of my most favorite personalities in football too. The jokester, silly guy, bringing people together, like making horse sounds, like putting his passport up to his head and acting like he's on a phone call.
You need that person.
You need that guy, you know, just like making everything lighter and better. Like,
yeah, mellows the mood, you know?
Because it's serious stuff. That stuff gets intense.
No, man, once you're at that level, you know that whatever mistake is going to get criticized, whatever thing that you do outside the field is going to get criticized. So you got to make sure that everything is, aligned. Yeah. You can't let something get out of hand.
And he finds funny ways to make jokes of serious situations, like Lewandowski going and Kane coming in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Kane will play me the ball back." It's like, oh!
Well, it's funny because Lewandowski and like Muller, they had like such a good connection.
Yeah, of course.
And like
good friends.
Something that I was looking and trying to find was like, why is Thomas Muller so good? And in Germany they have this zones inside the box called the Muller zone, where it's between the 6-yard box and the 18-yard box, and that zone, that vertical zone, is where Muller has found the most space, and that's where he's gotten his most assists. Jesse Marsh was talking about this, and he was looking at the statistics of the Bundesliga, or I'll say it like him, the Bundesliga, last season, and he was saying that the most assists, like they were like zones of where the assists came from. Mm-hmm. The most assists came from those zones. Why? Because it's the easiest place for you to actually score, and it's the hardest place for the team that you're playing against to defend.
Right.
Because if you're crossing it from outside the box, that gives the ball is in the air for so much that it gives opportunity for the goalkeeper to come and catch it, right? Whereas if you're there, dude, if you chip a ball into the back post, there is no way that the keeper goes from his front post defending that ball all the way to the back post, getting ready for a shot to be stopped.
Arsenal should have scored against Liverpool playing that way, but our defender left it and Saka tried to volley it. But Kai got in off the free kick. He chipped it in to the back post.
I remember that one.
We missed this header for whatever reason, and Saka comes here. But if you looked at the keeper's position in that situation, he was useless.
Yeah.
Because it was a chip into the back post. There's no way he's getting across. Now it's just about connection, and it was missed. But that situation is what it reminds me of. Is you're right. When you're playing into those spaces, it improves the percentage of chance to score. The opportunity increases. And it's about knowing how to increase those percentages in order to be more efficient. But it's for the players to know. It's for you to teach, right?
Yeah. And I feel like players, and this may just be in my team, players think that a cross from any situation is a good action. Where I'm going to start howling on them and be like, dude, why are you crossing from so far away? The only reason why would be because it's an early cross. And like there's a gap between the defensive line and the goal where you could actually play a ball in between the two for someone to run into.
Ask them first, how do they define a successful cross? And see what they say.
Yeah.
Just ask them, how do you define a successful cross? Because in my world, it's not until you've actually connected to the teammate in the center from the wide area. Like, you had to actually make that connection and put the ball in their plate.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good way to define a successful cross.
Yeah, and you've given the opportunity for the team, whoever is in that position, to score or keep possession or circulate or set someone else up. Your success at the cross is in the connection of your cross.
Mm-hmm.
But players, they think getting the ball in the area is enough. And so when you see a striker and a crosser, a player who's going to cross the ball, and they're trying to meet to a certain particular area and the striker misses it, I still kind of give that the sense of, well, that could have been a successful cross. Maybe it was the striker who left late or didn't react in time. So there is a gray zone, of course, like anything else, but a lot of the time, I'm also looking at the intent of the crosser. Was that your intent? Or did you just nail it without looking?
Just because you're in the wide space and it's an easy
action.
And
now it's on you.
Yeah.
Because you didn't do what I asked of you or what you should have done, not on him in the middle of the box. And realistically, that's how we zone in on who needs to get the coaching point in that moment. Is like, where was the intent? What are you looking for? But you always start with the question. So how do you define a successful cross? Because I see you making plenty, but I'm not seeing
the output.
And we'll say we look at the film, and there's 10 crosses in the film from you in the last 2 games, and 2 have connected. Right now, that's 20%. It's a really, really, really low number. How do we tangibly get that number higher? Can we physically get that to 50? 10 crosses, 5 are connected. Now as they come down the line, they're coming towards the goal. Their thought isn't get the ball into the box. Their thought is find a teammate, get it to a teammate. That defines success in this moment. It makes a better winger.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a more clear-thoughted, understood winger.
I'll give one more term, just so that you guys can end with the last golden nugget.
Player.
I believe I'm a fan of also speaking different languages, because then it's another way of the opposition not knowing what you're actually trying to do. Because if I tell my striker, I tell him, let's say one of my midfielders has time on the ball, and I tell my striker, run in behind. Everybody knows what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, and here in Southern California, Spanish is pretty close to that too.
Oh yeah.
It's like everybody knows when you say something.
No, it's funny. I was saying something like, "Hey, do this," and then some kid from the other team was like, "They're gonna do that," and I'm like, I can't even use Spanish anymore.
Yeah, right. No, it's well understood.
So for me, what I'm gonna start using in my teams when I want my strikers or my attacker, whoever, my midfielder, to run in behind, Tiefgang. Tiefgang.
Tiefgang.
The German word that means deep runs.
Fits.
Of course.
Tiefgang.
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 But
Tiefgang.
It's German, so
Tiefgang.
yeah, you gotta make it sound angry,
because the A is like oh.
Yeah, and then the G is like silent or like slash like less.
Depends on where it's placed, right? The G
I
is silent. Depends on where it's
honest.
placed in German, I think.
I wouldn't know, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm German. I'm German.
You're learning.
And I don't even know German yet.
You know more German than I do, so you should give yourself some credit.
I like a mindset. But there you go, another one that you can start implementing for your teams, and that keeps the element of surprise. You say Tiefgang, and people are gonna be like, "What the hell is this guy saying?"
Right.
They don't know. They won't know what's going on. Then you see someone just darting in, and you get someone
And
in
as
behind.
long as you taught your team prior to the week what it means and what you want when they hear it, you're good.
Yeah.
They'll understand the cue. They'll go, and hopefully they'll go. And you can show that understanding of the cue and or the terminology that you're using, because that's truly what it is. You just picked a certain terminology. It's understood by the players, the cues and what to do. So now you can use it as a tool during the match. And realistically, we talk about like giving information. We'll close it out like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the more that you can give cues that are concise, that are understood, and allow the players to act and react, the more together and advanced you look as a coach.
That's I think the best point, because
You look so professional.
Because you can talk, you can say all of these words in 20 words, or you can say these phrases or these terminologies in 20 words, and it'll still be the same as that 1 or 2 word line.
Giving so much depth.
But you could say it in these 1 or 2 word lines, and it'll have, like you said, all that context behind it that the players know instantly. I know what I need to do.
And then from the outside perspective looking in, parents, opponents, players, assistant coaches from the opponent's team or even yours, they look at your control of that team through those cues and actions, and it's a sense of professionalism.
Dang.
It's a sense of
how did these guys
control.
get to do that?
They got together and they're understanding, and it's just from outside looking in, it's professional. It's how when you're coaching a game, you'd want people to see you operating, and also it makes players say, well, then the other side, the opponents, well, I might want to play for that team. They all understand what that coach is saying. They look like they're in sync. There's cues. They're good. In sync is probably the best way to say it. So one of the things you should always remember is the more that you can learn to principle those thoughts, cue those thoughts into understanding for the players, and then get actions, reactions, and behaviors from them from those, the better coach you're going to be. And as you continue to coach through both of us, through our entire career, we're going to develop more detailed, more principled, more concise cues and understandings of the game. And then also the behind story and how we present that to the team in order for them to understand the depth of it. So that when we get to the
it makes
show,
it something new,
we're professional.
Like, I think this is something that I've been really trying recently, is making sure that the things that I say are novel. They're not things that have been heard from many coaches from the 10, 15 years that these boys have played soccer.
That's a good start.
There's basics in this game that need to be repeated, but there's also things that, need to be freshened up.
It's a start to your creation of your self-identity, like when we talked about with Tony. Right? It's like a creation of that self-identity that is different than the rest, and this is what players get when they're with you that they won't get anywhere else. That's identity. And that's what you say. You know German, you know Spanish, you know your English. You're working on 3 languages there. You can deliver a message in different means.
Ouais, je parle français aussi.
I know I see.
Oui, oui.
I would say I took 3 years of French in high school, and I know very little, but I still think I might know a little more than you.
No, n'est pas possible.
There is possible. It is possible.
Say it in English.
But yeah, no, I think as far as terminology and information goes, they're hand in hand. And throughout the course of coaching, you're going to develop a better way of speaking and what to say and how to share it. And all of your teams will slowly become, or sometimes they take it a little faster, the group in which you want them to become. And then you'll get to sit there with your legs crossed, like Jesse said, quiet, and watch them work. And when you're up 2-0 and you're watching them work and they're communicating and everything's smooth, oh, what a feeling.
But you know what? I was upset. I was upset this week, and I'm probably going to grill them because they were up 3-0, and then
they died off, huh? No.
Put the foot off the gas.
Oh, we're good.
Yeah, and no more sprinting, no more high press. I watched the film, and I'm like, I'm going to rip these guys apart.
You should just tell them, hey, that however long it was, 15, 10, 20 minutes, wasted. You're up 3-0. You're in a good opportunity at the back end of the game to improve your fitness, your ability to compete at the back 20, your ability to finish goals, all these things in the game situation, which is the best teacher. And you just said, "Nah, we don't want to get better." You wasted the time, burnt it. Like Tony said, we don't like a shitty training session. Well, it's a good game, but then the game was still on, and then it became a bad game for you. So, like, you just missed 20 minutes of preparation and improvement because you decided that it was over.
And I'm gonna frame it.
What?
I'm gonna ask him today. I'm gonna be like, "Yo, so how do we feel about the game?" And they're probably gonna be like, "Oh, it was a good game, coach. 3-0." And then I'm gonna just absolutely destroy him.
See, I feel like when I talk about my team, my high school team, I cut out a lot of things I say, but I never cut out what you say about your team.
No, and it's fine. It's fine. It's good.
I definitely like make sure that what I'm saying about my group is beneficial for them to hear. It's good. But sometimes, you know how I do, I just say things that not always that way. It's more truthful than it is beneficial. And so I've like recently cut the last few, and I'm like, I cut out a few things to say about the group so that when we're in season isn't affecting what we're doing.
Why?
But you're over here and you're just talking about your JV team in many different ways to people, and you're like, I'd let it be because, well, there's a difference. I don't know.
And I feel like since we're flying, like there's no need for like you to cut out anything because there's nothing for us to like be affected by.
It's different also, and by no means do I mean this in any way, shape, or form, but like you being 22, 23 with your JV team and you guys have that relatability going on, like I'm actually moving, like as I get older, there's a bigger barrier in order to bridge that relatability, and I'm more careful about everything that I present with the group now 10 years into coaching that I would have been 10 years ago. And through that, I've learned, okay, what do I want to share? What don't I want to share? And maybe you're still in that phase of what do I want to share? What don't I want to share? And that leads you to being more free in what you are and what, And I think that's a great thing because you're developing your identity, as we've said before. But my identity is already kind of like somewhat molded, and mine is closer to being understood, and you're still molding yours. You're in a full mold form. And I think that's a really healthy, positive thing, Yeah.
Yeah. Episode 15.
Yeah.
That was a wrap.
That is a wrap.
Yeah, it's good to be back, man.
Yeah, it is. And hopefully we can get back on it like on a regular basis. I know we have like multiple guests coming up, hopefully.
Yeah.
Like at least 3 to 4 that have said, yeah, we're in. We just got to organize the time to get them in.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we want to do going forward. So I was just laughing at how awkward that was. But both pause. But in the future, I think as we look towards doing more than just a year's podcast, but like trying to keep the thing open-minded and going, the more coaches we get on the podcast and get to pick their brain about their experience and their thoughts, I think the more depth this podcast will hold in the long course, in the long run.
Yeah, because then those people can like look back and even them, they can see like, damn, I was an idiot 5 years ago, or like, that was a good point I made 5 years ago.
Even for me, like the things that I'll pull from our conversation with Tony, like in the future, and I'm watching back and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a great point. Like all the things that we put, like you said, it's digital real estate, and it's also beneficial, positive, and open-mindedness. It like creates critical thought, so it's a healthy thing. And as we collect a bunch of different coaches on the podcast and we get them in, we'll have a category of different mindsets, thoughts, perspectives, approaches, adjustments, terminologies, information and how they gave it. And I think it will be actually quite the positive resource for any young player or young coach or coach period in the game. And in the long run, that's what we hope to do, right? Is give insight or critical thought or tools to people. Whether they be coaching for a long time or they be coaching for a new, or they've been playing for a long time or they've been playing for a new. And that's hopefully the in the longevity of the podcast, what we're after, I guess.
Amen to that.
Yeah, so this has been Pitchside Prospects, episode 15. You can find me at ZJ Kaizen or trainzonesports.com. And what about you?
You can find me at Coach JCKM or at JCCrewM, all on Instagram. This has been a good episode.
Yeah.
A good way to come back, start the year strong. Maybe a little light because, we had the little incident, but we're coming back full force.
Yeah, it's much warmer than it was before, but that was really good. And 15.